This adventurous story begins by showing a man named Walter, who comes home very scared. Here, we learn that Walter's wife is pregnant and she is about to give birth soon. Suddenly, Walter's wife starts experiencing severe pain, and soon a child is born. But when Walter holds the baby in his arms, he notices some strange marks on the baby's body. Walter's wife, being heavily pregnant, gives birth to another child, who also has the same marks on his body. But the worst part is that during this entire process, Walter's wife dies. The nurse present there, after seeing both children, says that these children are children of the devil, and so Walter should get rid of them as soon as possible because they could become a great curse for everyone. Walter knew that if the villagers found out about this, they would kill both his children. So, to protect them, Walter secretly takes his 2 children deep into the forest. He decides that no matter what happens, he will raise and nurture both of his children. As time passes, we are introduced to a king named Dirt, who is taking his last breaths. Dirt is very old and suffering from many illnesses that have weakened his body. Everyone in the palace is worried about who will take his position after he dies. Walter, who is actually the king's son, had already left the palace and was never expected to return. So, everyone is deeply concerned about what will happen after the king's death. Suddenly, a huge dragon flies in. This dragon, named Drago, is the royal dragon of the royal family and the king. In fact, Drago and the king's hearts are connected, and if the king dies, Drago would also die. Everyone is worried about this. The dragon is also very anxious. But what was meant to happen, happens. Soon, King Dirt breathes his last and dies. Drago thinks that after the king's death, he will also die. But that does not happen. Drago remains perfectly fine and safe. It turns out that all these beliefs were completely false. However, Drago realizes that his heart is not connected to the king but to someone else. He decides to find out who that person is as soon as possible because he wants to find that person and keep them safe so no harm comes to them. If that happens, Drago's body will also get hurt. Drago immediately sets out on a long journey to find the person whose heart is connected to his. Meanwhile, in the same kingdom, we see a brave boy named Edric. Edric is so skilled in fighting that he kills many people. Actually, these are all thieves who come into the village and steal things. But Edric gives those thieves a tough time and drives them away by defeating them badly. Suddenly, after a short while, the big dragon named Drago appears before Edric. Edric places his sword in front of the dragon and demands to know who he is and what he wants. Only then does Drago explain to Edric that he is his family's dragon. Drago reveals that Edric is the son of a great prince named Walter, and Drago's heart connects with the heart of any true prince who stands for the truth. But Drago also knows that his heart is not yet connected to Edric because Edric still needs to improve more for Drago to protect him properly. Drago tells Edric about his father, how Walter left the royal family to live with his mother, who also had a dragon connected to her heart. But one day, that dragon died due to being struck by lightning, and because of the connection, Walter's mother also died. This was the reason Walter left the royal family forever and started living a normal life in the forest. Since then, the kingdom has existed without a king because only Walter could have been the king. And after Walter comes Edric's generation. Edric doesn't trust Drago's words and points his sword at him, saying that his father had told him never to trust any dragon because they are very dangerous. But Drago says no dragon is dangerous, they only attack to protect themselves. After explaining all this, Drago takes Edric into the kingdom that once belonged to his father. Seeing such a large kingdom, Edric becomes extremely happy and cannot believe that he is the heir to the entire kingdom. It was as if overnight, his dream had come true, becoming a king. Since Edric is Walter's son, he is made the new king of the kingdom because he is the rightful heir by bloodline. Edric is overjoyed that he has become a king at such a young age, a dream he had long cherished. Finally, it all became a reality. Edric now had control of the entire kingdom in his hands. Whenever he wanted, he could order soldiers to attack anyone, and he enjoyed many of the kingdom's facilities. Slowly, some time passed. Suddenly, Drago came to Edric and said, "There's one thing you haven't told me yet. I want to ask, do you have a brother or sister?" Because King Walter had 2 children. Edric thought for a moment and said, "I do have a sister." Just like Edric possessed many human powers, his sister Megan also had supernatural powers. Megan had the ability to generate fire, so if she tried to attack anyone, they would burn completely. Controlling fire was her specialty. Edric explained, "Some time ago, when I was performing really well, a group of soldiers noticed me and invited me to join their team. I trained with them and kept improving my fighting skills. But a few days later, when I went to visit my father and Megan, I saw the entire house was on fire. My father had burned alive inside. Megan was standing there, crying heavily. She said that her father and she had argued because he wanted to leave the village. Megan got very angry and set the whole house on fire. In that fire, Megan and Edric's father, Walter, both burned to death. As these events gradually became known to the villagers, they started to see Megan as a witch. They gathered together to kill her, believing she was a threat to the other villagers. But Edric did not want any harm to come to his sister, so he took her to a safe place far away and kept her hidden. Edric did all this just to protect his sister. Now, after so many years, Edric had not even seen Megan's face and did not even know if she was alive or dead. He told Drago everything, which made Drago suspect that maybe Megan was the one whose heart was connected to him, the bond that linked their hearts. Meanwhile, inside the kingdom, a villain named Norman had entered with his entire army and was killing people relentlessly. He wanted to take over the entire kingdom. When Edric learned all this, he prepared his entire army and marched out to fight. On one side was Norman's large army, and on the other side stood Edric with his soldiers. Along with Edric was the big dragon Drago, who was there to support him in the battle. Suddenly, Norman brought out a girl from behind, none other than Edric's sister, Megan. Edric was shocked to see her because it looked like Megan was working for Norman. Megan commanded her soldiers to shoot 2 flaming arrows toward Edric's army. The arrows fell in front of Edric's soldiers, and using her supernatural powers, Megan transformed the small fire into blazing lava. Megan could injure anyone with that lava, but for now, she was just scaring everyone. Suddenly, a soldier from Edric's army shot an arrow at Megan's hand. To everyone's surprise, the pain Megan felt was also felt by Drago. This made Drago and Edric realize that Drago's connection was definitely with Megan. Their hearts were connected. Although there wasn't much fighting on the battlefield, both armies retreated back to their kingdoms. That night, Megan came to meet her brother Edric. She was very happy that Edric had gained the kingdom, but she told him, "Give me the throne because I am older, and as the elder sibling, I have the full right to this kingdom." Edric thought deeply and replied, "That will never happen. I am the new king, and I will rule this kingdom." Without responding, Megan left, and it seemed like she was plotting something. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Megan went directly to Drago. She took the fiery power from Drago's mouth, the same power that let him breathe fire, and trapped it inside a bottle. Taking advantage of this moment, Megan called Norman soldiers, who then attacked Edric's army. Because the attack was sudden and without warning, many of Edric's soldiers were seriously injured. However, Drago had now arrived at the battlefield, wanting to help Edric's army. But no fire came from his mouth because Megan had taken away his powers. Megan had become very energetic with those powers and was advancing with fireballs to burn Edric's entire army. Edric realized that they couldn't stand against Megan's power, so to save his soldiers' lives, he told Megan, "I am ready to give you the throne, but you must promise not to harm my soldiers." Megan agreed to this and now wanted to take full control of the kingdom. She captured Drago and swore to become the new queen of the entire kingdom, then banished her brother Edric from the village. Poor Edric wandered through the forest and eventually reached his commander Paul. Edric was feeling very bad because his whole army was now in the hands of someone who only did evil things. When Megan went to Drago, Drago told her clearly, "Even though you have taken my powers, these powers will never truly be yours because to use them, one needs a pure heart, something you do not have." But Megan didn't care and imprisoned Drago very harshly. After a few days, Edric decided with Paul, "Gather all our soldiers, we will form a team and attack Megan's army to reclaim our kingdom." Paul agreed and started gathering people who could help. But soon it was revealed that Norman and his men had already surrounded Edric. That's when Edric realized Paul had betrayed him and joined forces with Norman. Edric was very angry at Paul for the betrayal. After capturing Edric, Norman went straight to Megan, who was now making rules inside the kingdom. Megan had made all resources equal for men and women alike, and all facilities were to be shared equally. Norman and his followers were very unhappy with these rules and wanted changes, but Megan refused to listen and told them to leave because she was the true queen. Then Megan went to Drago to talk to him. She wanted to tell Drago that she planned to use his powers for herself and transfer all that energy into her body. Soon after, a man came to invite Megan for dinner. Megan then went to dine in her luxurious palace. But later, it was revealed that this unknown man was actually allied with Edric. He came there immediately and freed Drago. Drago quickly rose and went to his true master, Edric. Meanwhile, Norman's men had imprisoned Edric in a boat and were trying to kill him. But at the right moment, Drago's loyal followers arrived with a plan. They decided to gather all the kingdom's resources and valuables because Drago suspected that Megan wanted to kill them all. He did not want to die like that and thus chose to oppose Megan. Norman also started scheming against Megan to defeat her because she refused to listen to anyone and was making rules according to her own will. Now, we see Edric talking to Drago. First, he thanks Drago for saving his life. Then Edric shares a truth: before his father died in the fire, he and his father had argued. Edric wanted to become a noble protector of the people, but his father was worried and told him to take his sister far away from there. Edric did not want to leave and wanted to stay, which caused many fights between them. Edric had left home angrily, but when he returned, he found his sister in panic, who had set the house on fire. Their father died terribly in the fire, and the villagers turned against them. Because of this, Edric had to leave with his sister. Then Megan found a group, none other than Norman's men. When Norman learned about Megan's powers, he recruited her into his team, making his army even stronger. Now Megan's plan had succeeded. She had become the new queen of the entire kingdom. Edric was completely disheartened about getting his kingdom back, but Drago motivated him, saying they might still win. At this point, Edric noticed some people entering the kingdom to perform circus acts. These were his loyal followers who considered him their king and were ready to do anything on his command. From this, a plan formed in Edric's mind. With those people, he secretly entered the kingdom, meaning Edric was planning a rebellion. Edric and Drago, while hiding, successfully infiltrate the kingdom to oppose Megan. At night, the show organized by their supporters is about to start, and everyone is enjoying themselves. Meanwhile, Megan is resting in her room. Edric's plan was to kill all the soldiers and then directly reach Megan to steal the hard fire, Drago's special power. But surprisingly, Norman had also sent one of his soldiers to steal the hard fire. That soldier sneaked into Megan's room and started stealing the hard fire. At the right moment, Edric arrives and fights that soldier because he does not want anyone else to take the hard fire. Due to their fight, Megan wakes up and joins Edric in fighting the intruder. For the first time, the siblings fought together against a common enemy. Despite their best efforts, the soldier sent by Norman manages to escape with the hard fire and throws it directly to Norman. Drago tries to fly and catch the hard fire, but it just escapes his grasp. Now, Norman has the most powerful weapon. Norman orders his soldiers to capture Edric and Megan so he can take over the entire kingdom. Before Edric and Megan get hurt, Drago arrives, grabs both of them, and flies away because their lives are in great danger. He takes them deep into the forest, sets them down, and says, "How can you both be so selfish? My heart is connected to both of you, which means if I die, you will also die. And now, without the hard fire, I'm getting weaker. It's your responsibility to bring back my hard fire, defeat Norman, and reclaim your kingdom." After saying this, Drago leaves. But Edric and Megan start arguing with each other again. They just cannot get along. Drago returns angrily and scolds them. Edric and Megan ask him what he really wants from them. Drago simply replies, "I want you two to work together and rule the kingdom because it belongs to your ancestors and has been running for many years." At that moment, Edric responds, "I can never work with her because she was responsible for my father's death." Then Megan reveals a truth to Edric, "I was not the one who killed our father, it was because of you." Edric listens in shock as Megan explains that when he had a fight with their father and pushed him while leaving, the father fell onto a sharp weapon hidden there, which caused his death. But Edric was angry and went far away. When Megan arrived, their father was already dead. She didn't want Edric to be blamed, so she deliberately set the house on fire and took the blame herself. If the villagers had found out the truth, Edric would have been cast out because he was an ordinary human, whereas Megan had supernatural powers and could survive outside. This was the reason Megan sacrificed herself to save her brother. Hearing all this, Edric is stunned and hugs Megan tightly, as he had never known the truth or believed that his sister would sacrifice so much for him. After learning all these secrets, Edric and Megan decide to rule the kingdom together. But before that, they must defeat Norman and his entire army, so they start planning. Edric infiltrates Norman's palace and Norman challenges him to a one-on-one fight. He promises to give Edric a treasure full of gold hidden by his father if he wins. Now greedy Norman accepts the challenge. On the battlefield, both stand face to face and the fight begins. Edric is brave and powerful but cannot defeat Norman. Norman severely injures him, and many of Norman's soldiers attack Edric from behind, which is cheating. Still, Edric fights with all his might. Just as the soldiers are about to kill Edric, Megan arrives and starts attacking them with her fire abilities. Suddenly, one of Norman's soldiers shoots an arrow that hits Megan, and she falls badly injured. Megan's injury directly affects Drago as well. Drago also fell down badly injured because their lives were connected. If Megan died, Drago would die too. Norman, in order to make himself more powerful, swallowed the heart fire technique into his mouth to gain full power and control fire abilities. But the heart fire liquid was so powerful that no normal human could control it. When Norman consumed it, immense power was generated inside him, which was uncontrollable. Taking advantage of this moment, Edric immediately attacked Norman. He killed Norman and took the heart fire out of his mouth. Edric then rushed to his sister Megan, who was taking her last breaths. If Megan died, Drago would die too because their hearts were connected. Edric was confused, but Drago suggested to pour the heart fire on Megan's wounds. Drago also said they needed to reconnect their hearts because if they stayed connected, even after Drago died, Edric and Megan could survive. Edric had no other option, so he poured the heart fire on Megan's body. Slowly, Megan healed completely. Now Edric and Megan's bodies were connected, and their bond with Drago was broken. Also, during this whole process, the supernatural powers within them disappeared, and their marks vanished, turning them into normal humans. Drago had become very weak. Before leaving, he told the siblings to always stay together and rule the kingdom wisely because it was their heritage. After saying this, Drago disappeared into the air, becoming a shining star that would forever glow in the sky. And with this, our adventurous story ends.